Monday, May 27th. It is Memorial Day. Thanks for joining another episode of Stand Tall. If you guys are watching on Instagram, make sure to shoot over to my YouTube, Manic Tulip 76. And if you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing. It really helps, um, especially getting the channel out there in a world where we probably need more, even as disjointed as these are sometimes. Probably better to have these spread than another dance video. So without further ado, anyway, let's dive right on in. We're going to be doing Monday. We're going to go right back to the art of war. And I believe we just started a new chapter, chapter 11, the 9 situations. So let's read a couple of them, and then we'll go over to an alternate translation before jumping over to how to win friends and influence people and seeing how Dale Carnegie's principles cross with Eastern warfare philosophy. All right, number 2. When a chieftain is fighting in his own territory, it is dispersive ground. 3. When he has penetrated into hostile territory, but not to great distance, it is facile ground. 4. Ground, the possession of which imports great advantage to either side, is contentious ground. 5. Ground on which each side has liberty of movement is open ground. And 6. Ground which forms the key to 3 contiguous states, so that he who occupies it first has most of the empire at his command, is a ground of intersecting highways. So that covers a couple of them. Now let's go over to the alternate translation to see what the difference is. So this has some reflections from other military generals at the time. So Master Sun says, when you enter other lands, but not deeply, this is called light ground. Cao Cao says to this means the soldiers can all get back easily. Du Mu says, when an army goes forth and crosses a border, it should burn its boats and bridges to show the populace it has no intention of looking back. Okay, and let's just go back to the opening of 9 grounds. Master Sun, according to the rule for military operations, there are 9 kinds of ground. Where local interests fight among themselves on their own territory, this is called a ground of dissolution. Cao Cao says, when the soldiers are attached to the land and are near home, they fall apart easily. Okay, Master Sun says, land that would be advantageous to you if you got it, and to opponents if they got it, is called ground of contention. Cao Cao says, ground from which a few would overcome many, the weak could strike the powerful. And Du Mu says, a ground of inevitable contention is any natural barricade or strategic pass. So ground of contention in your real life is going to be any natural talent that you have and that you might still have to compete with others for. They might have the same talent. Master Sun says, land where you and others can come and go is called a trafficked ground. Zhang Yu says, if there are many roads in the area and there's free travel that cannot be cut off, this is what is called a trafficked ground. Okay. Master Sun says, land that is surrounded on 3 sides by competitors and would give the first to get it access to all the people on the continent is called intersecting ground. Ho Yongqi says, intersecting ground means the intersections of main arteries linking other numerous highway systems. First, occupy this ground, and the people will have to go with you. So if you get it, you are secure. If you lose it, you are in peril. All right, next is heavy ground, and on and on. Let's go over to how to win friends and influence people. We are on chapter 4 of, I believe, part 2. Each part has its own set of chapters. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. Okay, so it looks like he talks about Mr. Carnegie. What else? Charles Eliot. Mrs. Douglas. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Abraham Lincoln. Longfellow. Many names mentioned in here. Ending with the quote, people who talk only of themselves think only of themselves. And those people who think only of themselves, Dr. Nicholas Murray Butler, longtime president of Columbia University, said, are hopelessly uneducated. They are not uneducated, said Dr. Butler, no matter how instructed they may be. So if you aspire to be a good conversationalist, be an attentive listener. Be interesting, be interested. Principle 4, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Okay, so this is just like the contentious ground. This is almost a strategy in the art of war itself, getting the opponent, right, the enemy to advance, to show themselves, right, to open up in many ways. So this ground, right? This contentious ground, these 9 situations that we can find ourselves in. This is one of them, just embodied in how to treat each other. And you can find that it's still in the art of war and a principle of how to win against the enemy, but also now we're finding it in not only how to be a good friend, but how to win others over and ultimately conduct good business.